bros. Hey, you're about to get a face full of the Ken Bozak. He's a mentor. That's what I heard. He's a connector. Oh, yeah. He's a brilliant leader. I've seen it. He's Ken Bozak. Oh, happy bro. You gotta get some Bitcoin and hold it. Happy bros. You gotta get those NFTs and you gotta hodl that stuff. You gotta hodl it. 'Cause I'm Ken bro. We got your Bitcoin, bro. He's an original. Buy some NFTs and hold them. How many times does he have to tell you? Going to the moon. Going to the moon. We're going to the moon. We're going to the moon. Going to the moon. We're going to the moon. We're gonna get real high. 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 Yeah, we're going to the moon. We're going to the moon. Bro, we're going to the moon. Oh yeah, we're going to the moon. We're gonna get real high. Real high. Yep. Real high. Hello, happy bros. Come get some Ken Bozak.
And we're on the air. Okay, this thing's on. We're live. Hello. Yeah, it's working. All right. Thanks, Double O Tats, Bobcat, Miggy, and everybody who let me take over their socials today. So we did a socials takeover via Restream, which is fun because we're live all over, which means like the algorithm can't stop us. Today we have a great guest. Crimson, why don't you introduce yourself? Let us start at the beginning here with who are you? How did you get into crypto? And what are you doing now?
Oh my goodness, it's a loaded question. Hello. I'm a big fan of not stopping the transmission. Well done. So my name's crimsonclad, and I currently work with the Hive blockchain. I'm a community member, but I do operations, outreach, BD, that kind of thing. But realistically, I kind of just slid into the blockchain space a lot for the same kind of reasons that you're talking about here is I'm sick of social media. And so 2016, 2017, Facebook didn't do it for me. Twitter didn't do it for me. I got really sick of just how manipulative the social platforms were, the same type of junk that was getting fed to me. And I only had a little inkling of what crypto was about. I'm from Vancouver in Canada, very Ethereum centric town. So I bought a bit of Ethereum, but I didn't really get it yet. And so in about 2017, I discovered a social media platform connected to crypto. And that was the Steam ecosystem. And over the years, many crazy things have happened, but we eventually took over as a community, forked, and created a brand new blockchain called Hive. And I've kind of been just deep in that ecosystem ever since. So for me, the things that are really important are basically owning your distribution, owning your own value, having sovereignty over the content you create, but also the people you engage with, your own identity, all that good stuff. All of these sort of tertiary reasons that blockchain is really changing the world. And honestly, because it is such a social platform and I've met so many people, I've gotten involved with many types of cryptocurrency. So I've gone through the whole arc of being, Bitcoin centric to nope, I'm all in on every alt to side of dialing in my portfolio now. And my big interests are in privacy and volunteerism tools. And basically freedom money. So if something is really centralized, you probably won't find me fucking with it too much personally.
I feel like that's sort of why a lot of people went with the fork because of the somewhat centralization of the Steam situation. I believe it was Justin Sun who acquired it right?
Everybody's favorite crypto bro. Nobody hates that guy at all. And everything he touches definitely is good, right? Um, but like severe shade aside, yes. For the very, very quick backstory is that Steam had obviously a lot of real people making all sorts of content. There was no specific thing, and that's the same with Hive. These blockchains that are these long-standing open social graphs, what they're meant for is you find your audience, you build a community, you post about whatever you want, you interact with whatever you want. So it's a place where humans gather, which is really important, obviously in today's world. But it's also a place where just people are saying things that matter, even if they don't. Your abuela can come and share a recipe for like empanadas, and people are so into it, and nobody can stop her from collecting a couple bucks for it. Justin Sun thought, hey, I'm just going to buy all these people. I'm going to slap Tron on top, and then I'm going to be able to say that there's like 2 million more Tron wallets. So he essentially swept in, he bought the company that owned the code base and the blockchain at that time because it was still centralized. But the community really had taken over a lot of the building and advertising, new front ends, games. So the ecosystem was thriving because there was a really great collaboration between the original company and the community. But they sold to Justin Sun. He immediately used those funds to essentially make a 51% attack on the network, installed his own block producers, and then also got centralized exchanges involved in the governance vote when the community fought back. So for a little bit there's this crazy back and forth where the community was staking everything they had and voting for their known block producers. And Justin Sun would go to an exchange and take all that captured steam and vote for his own. And eventually we said, you know what? You can keep your dead blockchain. You can keep your centralized blockchain. It doesn't make sense for us to compromise the code to try and beat you. We're literally just going to fork and walk away. And so it was kind of, it was very bittersweet because obviously it scared a lot of people. And there was no reason for the new fork to be worth anything at all. There's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
We literally walked away and just said, we're just going to start this on our own merit. No one will own it. There will be no company. There will be no VC. There will be no founder. It will just be people building something that matters to them. And pretty much everybody came with us. And we are still to this day one of the only forks in history, if not the only fork, to basically outperform in both development and in price the legacy chain from inception to today. And that was more than 6 years ago now.
Yeah, and there another rebrand recently from Hive Digital Technologies, or it was like Hive Blockchain. Now it's Hive Digital Technologies, right? And now we're going towards Hive's heading more focusing towards like AI and stuff. I'm curious what your thoughts are on the overlap of like AI and social media in the blockchain, and are we just gonna have like bots upvoting bots?
Well, I'd argue that that's all of social media right now. The dead
Internet theory. Yeah, it's been monetized. It has been
probably
monetized. It is no longer a bug. It is a feature, and they love the dead internet theory.
It's true. And so I swear there's probably a lot we could talk about, especially for you as a prolific content creator. I'm sure you're seeing it. But so the thing that you touched on is really interesting. And it's something that actually, it's part of like the work that I'm going to take on now, is because there was another, we're in a Galadriel voice. There was another. Hive Digital Technologies actually is a different company. And so this is a tricky one because our ticker, when you go looking for Hive, is, $Hive. They are listed on the NASDAQ under that ticker. And so they are actually a company out of actually Vancouver, where I live. And they were originally Hive Blockchain. But before they were Hive Blockchain, they were Hive Mineral something. They were a traditional mining company. So here I'm going into your deep lore here. They were mining rocks, and then they were like, hell yeah, this crypto thing sounds neat. Let's make some money. So they became Hive Blockchain and they started doing crypto mining. And then we forked and they went, hey, I think maybe there's some overlap in identity here. And they tried to come after us with a cease and desist. They wanted us to change our name. Well, it turns out a decentralized entity with no founders, no company, and no nothing can't be stopped. So they changed to Hive Digital Technologies to kind of give themselves some distance from us. which
Yeah,
is
who's
kind
gonna
of
show up
hilarious.
when you sue a decentralized platform?
Well,
Nobody.
and so, it wasn't the legal threats were never like, "Hey, we're coming, we're gonna end you guys," but it was just like, "Hey, like, we've got this name, you can't be us, that doesn't make sense," and we're like, "We're not you, we have nothing to do with you, nope, all good, fam." And eventually they
So they
realized that there was
basically
just
pulled like a Long Island blockchain, right? They were
yeah.
just like,
They were like, "Okay, fine." But that also made sense because if you're looking into them, I mean, I don't care. I'm not a financial advisor, and I'm sure as hell not your financial advisor. But the reality is that's what they do. They make strong pivots towards whatever digital technologies are happening. So even though they're Bitcoin mining and that's what everybody loved about them, they're like, "Hell no, we're going to also do data centers now, like whoa, AI, whatever, computer stuff. We're doing computer stuff." So yes, they are now doing, I guess, whatever AI provisioning or data center stuff on top of Bitcoin mining. But the question remains super relevant because as a platform full of people that is truly permissionless, lots of people have made bots or agents that connect to Hive for them, or, they've created services that you can call, the beer bot or, call a joke or whatever. It's a really interesting time to exist. And this is kind of one of the reasons that I love Hive so much and I'm so engaged with where it's going, is because how do you prove identity anymore? Obviously, there are projects like Midnight who want to use ZK proofs. They want to tie things like biometrics and health data to a person without actually making that data available. But I'm interested in from the opposite side. And, I'm sure you'll have an opinion on this, which is I don't want to have any of my nation state identity be the identity that I'm known by. I don't
hmm.
care what Canada thinks about me or what it put on my little piece of plastic and enforces with some guns. Crimson Clad is my wallet address. It is also my identity. It's a public on chain history of all the things I've done, proposals I've made, posts I've made, people I've engaged with, things I've spent money on. Because yes, you want your bank account to be private. Yes, you want your biometrics to be private. But in a day where you can fake anything now, KYC means nothing anymore. The only identities that matter will be ones that are tied to humans with reputation, and they will come with time and they will come with public history. The difference is it should be voluntary. So the only things I associate with Crimson Clad are the things I want you to know. They are the things that build the identity that you then get to decide. I want to engage with this person. I want to do business with this person. I want to buy or sell something to this person. This is the sort of nation state identity that's truly voluntary and technically public, but also anonymous if you want, that matters in today's age. I think, anyways. I think it's kind of something that goes hand in hand. You will have your private biometric proof of world human option. And then you will also have your public handle, your public identity, the thing that kind of can't be faked or must be faked over time, giving, people this opportunity to rifle through it and look at it and decide, are you worth it? Are you a real person? Are you somebody I vibe with?
Are there any like preventative measures from allowing bad actors to utilize such a powerful tool? A lot of content is rightfully so censored on the internet, but when people find means of outlets in which aren't so censored, and not only they can be monetized now in this censored world, how do we prevent or at least game theory the bad actors out of this space? And sometimes, downvoting isn't really the solution of preventative measures. And with anonymous to synonymous identities, that's the repercussions and recourses for, not just breaking rules at TOS, but breaking laws that we have come to a consensus with and said, like, this content isn't just bad, it is illegal. How do we prevent those people from utilizing this technology? Sort of like, the Epstein uses Bitcoin, so Bitcoin bad.
Yeah. You don't love being painted with a broad brush, my guy? Yeah, well, I mean, we got what was the other name we were given? Shadowy supercoders for a while there. They were really really harping on how evil anybody who used crypto was. Thank goodness that's changing. So this is a good question, and this is one that will light people up. You will find there's just a real wide range of opinions on this. Obviously, a lot of people using crypto are just like, I want to send money with no fees. I would like to follow every law and I would like to be protected exactly like I am in traditional social media. Great, cool options. But there are the flip side, which are people saying that to have freedom of speech, you must have the sort of dangerousness of people being able to speak. And so, yeah, how do you build really great disruptive tech that supports people's rights, that creates truly, truly voluntary interactions, and then also try not to let the absolute worst people take it over? And so I could talk a little bit about how Hive works, because the idea is the technology should never look at you as a person and make a decision on you. The technology is permissionless. Whether we like it or not, you can do whatever you want with that technology. Well, that means we're shifting some of the onus back into the hands of humans again. Remember, we were talking about, like, yeah, it's disruptive tech, and yeah, the dead internet theory is going, but blockchain built for humans by humans to be human is the kind of goal here. And the problem that I often joke about when I go out and do talks and stuff is that if you build a blockchain for humans, they're gonna human all over it. That's good. That's bad. Sometimes it's real messy. But the way that we look at it is basically there's granular ways to prevent misuse of the blockchain. So number one is, you're just an end user and you've decided you're going to post something real heinous, just awful, awful. Anybody that runs a front end, which is how you would see content, right? Like, I could create content in a database, but how would you see it over the internet? You would have to go to a website or a platform. The platform goes, no, absolutely not. We're not showing that. Nope, no dice. And they can disappear you, because if a platform chooses not to serve that content, it's gone. So how does that mesh with, like, oh, permissionless tech, anyone can use it? Well, somebody who is really, really, really wanting to share that content then would have to make their own front end. So we've escalated. So now you've got to make your own dedicated, horrible content platform, which means you will have to set up a website, get some web hosting, do the code work, which admittedly
And
now
you probably have to do all that yourself too.
you would. And so that opens you to what we see now, where your internet service provider, and obviously there's ways around this, but your internet service provider gets involved. You would have to find a web hosting company that would be okay, or the URL provider, domain provider that would be okay with what you're posting, which we know now is how a lot of, say, like things like gore or CP content or bad stuff like that, that's often how they get taken down, is their provider goes, whoa, we just discovered this. Like, we're cutting your services off. Oh, you use PayPal, we're cutting your services off. So there's the next level. So let's just say now, okay, this person got deplatformed, they can't get a domain or they can't get a provider. So they might go even further than that, and they might say, okay, well, I'm going to run my own node, because even from a node perspective, the Hive network and most blockchains, you then have infrastructure run by people. It's not just one company who's providing the RPC, which would be the endpoint where if you wanted to make a query to the blockchain, you would ask it a question. The RPC is a server that says, yeah, sure, ask me a question. I'll give you the info you're looking for. In ecosystems like Solana, you have, what's the thing that Mert made? Not Palantir, but the magic eye that looks at everything on Solana, and then you have to pay a bunch of money to access it. That. In the Hive blockchain network, people run them. The infrastructure is run by anyone. Anyone can run them, which means you can access the information. If you don't want to have that information, if you don't want to serve it from your node, you don't have to. So again, there's every level all the way up. A person can make the decision to say, I choose not to engage with this. And many people not engaging it means that the network won't share it. However, if you as an individual, with your whole chest, you want to be the worst person on earth, you can do it. But every time you do that, you now open yourself up to more of a trail to be caught, more infrastructure that basically is harboring evidence against you. People sharing really bad material very rarely are running a giant bad material data center out of their basement, and when they do, they get caught, and then everybody goes, oh, look, we look through their, I was going to say we look through their address book and their flight logs and we got them, but maybe not in every case recently.
Well, recently there was a Disney cruise ship that had like 30 employees that were in a ring of it was like a land
human
party
trafficking
of CP.
or whatever.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah, they had physical files, so they didn't have to use servers. They were swapping USB sticks. It was so crazy when I
And
saw that.
they got caught. The human aspect, the bigger it gets, the more they get caught. So there is a flip side here is, to kind of go back through all this yammering that I just did, was the tech exists and anyone can use it. The tech is egalitarian in that it just says, hey, listen, it's available. It's free. It's open source. What you do with it, you're going to have to own, because other people can choose to not engage. They can choose to very purposefully not interact with you as part of the network. So if you want reach, you have to essentially put your own time, your own money, your own resources, and then essentially your own identity, your own
Hmm.
infrastructure on the line, which makes it more and more likely that you are opening yourself to forensics, or you are opening yourself to being caught.
Yeah.
What it also means is that the vast bulk of it will never be seen because it's not on any front end that most normal people are using. So
Yeah, it's
you
not
would have
something
to
people are going to
also,
stumble into on Hive, is what I'm getting at. It's not
yeah,
something
no,
people are going to trip and fall into malicious content on a
no.
decentralized platform.
No. And that is incredible. Like, that's really valuable, because the other thing that we have, and this is just kind of like in the background, but it would be useful. It is similar. I think Twitter, oh, sorry, I'm dating myself. X has it now, which is something like a blacklist. I can say, here are all the people that I have blacklisted, as
Yeah.
I can title it whatever I want, as bad actors. If you trust me because you followed me on the chain for a long time, you can literally just follow my blacklist and it disappears all those people that I don't like.
Yep.
So,
Another thing people don't consider are there's bounties out there, and doxing laws are only for non-criminals. Once
uh,
you're suspected of being a criminal, doxing you is not only not illegal, it is monetized. There are bounties out for finding people that use technology like this, decentralized or even centralized technology
yes.
for these. There's people who have careers made out of doxing people, sending the FBI to their front door, and just watching through their IP account that they hacked the raid take place. And those are the superheroes of the internet. And I think there should be more bounties in that. And I guess to segue into where's the Hive Foundation, and like where does the funding come from for Hive to build and get booths at conferences, or even put bounties like that out there? Where is there a Hive Foundation, and what's like the budget or like the game plan for marketing in 2026?
Well, marketing is something that, like, we have to go hard on, because I would argue that's the number one thing that most people just don't know Hive exists. And from my perspective, most people don't care about the plumbing. Here's a rude analogy that, is more true every day. When you buy a house and it has a toilet in it, your immediate assumption is that the toilet is going to work. I would like to come into this room and I would like to shit, and then I would like my shit to go away. I don't want to look behind the walls to make sure the pipes are there. They're there. That is my assumption. I don't care if the pipes are solid gold. I don't care anything. When I take a shit, the shit goes away. And maybe the toilet is fancy. Maybe the toilet is gold. Now I'm
A
interested. That's my
bidet.
platform. Yes, it has a little thing that sings to you and blows warm air on your bum. That's fantastic. That's great. That's what we're paying attention to. We're paying attention to the platform, to the place, to where we park our butts and spend our time. That is important. What happens with the things that we do, that just needs to work. So this is a blockchain analogy in every sense, not just, in the funding sense. I don't care which chain is in the background here. I don't care what kind of multi-chain atom, atomic swaps, blah, blah, hooty blah happens. I want my money to go from point A to point B, and I don't want to pay more than I expected to. Like, it should just work. We're not selling the plumbing anymore. The people who love the plumbing, the nerdos who love the plumbing, they're here. They're already in there. They're tinkering. They're Marioing around in the pipes. We've got them. Everybody else wants the fancy toilet. Focus on the fancy toilet. So, yes, marketing is huge. Marketing for Hive is important, but the biggest thing is actually telling people about what's already built here and what they can build here. That's going to be our number one goal. And so we don't have a foundation. In fact, we have nothing. We have community. Hive itself is a giant DAO. So there is actually a fund that exists on the chain. And it is, our blockchain is emissive, which means it's constantly refilling. So with the new Hive that's created, some of it is put into this DAO. Anybody that holds any staked Hive can vote on any proposal at all. And so that is, it's really interesting because we've had a ton of things funded, and a lot of it is, core development. So stuff that's happening at the main blockchain level, the really technical, nerdy stuff. Some of it is for infrastructure, for things on the Hive blockchain, whether that is things like soulbound NFT, like achievements, or that is things like actually sort of like the type of doxing hunters that you find for bad actors, or just straight up running a ton of big servers for things. But the flip side is we've also had like clean water in Africa and through across Nigeria. We had a local member of Hive just saying, "Hey, there are two tribes that live near me that are fighting over water. They can't, do cool things like learn about the blockchain. Why don't we just fund a well, and then once they stop fighting, like have them join up and be able to engage with the wider world?" And that's what happened. And so that expanded to, I think, like 16 wells and a documentary. Like some really cool stuff has come out of it. There's some partnerships in the works for them, but all of this is just funded by people. If you have any
Wow.
Hive at all staked, you can vote on anything. You can make a proposal for anything. Admittedly, there have been some wacky proposals. They usually don't pass. Nobody's ever been like, "Hi, please give me $1 million jillion so my cat can always eat diamond encrusted pate." It's not passed. It hasn't happened. So there is that human aspect again, where if something really matters to you, you have to have, some skin in the game. But lots of things, so like conferences and stuff, booths, things like that, that's all been funded by the DAO. We call it the DHF, the Decentralized Hive Fund. But yeah, so there is quite a bit of funding available. I will say it is tricky because it's different than going to a foundation and finessing like three people into giving you money. You have to convince an entire blockchain, and that is, I will say, that is hard mode. Like it's as close to PvP for funding as you're going to get. But it also does mean that there's a lot of engagement around these things, and there's a lot of feedback. And it's interesting and also terrifying because it's scary to say, "Hey, here's the thing I want to do," and then have it basically attached to an entire platform where everybody can give their opinion on it. Not just vote for it, but write an entire article about why you're wrong and you stink. Or
Oh
like,
yeah, but you know what I think's even worse is the inactive people. Maybe the whale you were hoping would see your proposal is inactive this week,
mm-hmm,
or something like that, or maybe they're not going to be active ever again. Who knows? And I feel like that's a lot of the stuff too that comes to those like proposal systems is like there's a
absolutely.
lot of
Stumping.
inactivity. So like I wanted to see like what are your thoughts on how do we scale that metric? Like I always thought to myself, there's really no incentive or disincentive to not be active, especially if you have a large stake and a decent weighted vote in the system. I feel like if you're inactive, even if you're not downvoting or whatever, like you have to be active at some capacity, but inactivity should be penalized in some form of the weight. And I should feel like they should have to earn the reputation of their stake back. Like here's the max level, but if you're inactive, you got to start back at rookie or novice, and you work your way back up to your full potential of voting capabilities.
Yeah, that's a really interesting idea. That's a tough one too, though, because I could see somebody who is like, "Hey, I'm looking for a place where I could park a bunch of my money for whatever reason." They also would say, "Hey, I want to check in twice a year. I want to collect my interest and I want to like rebalance my portfolio or whatever." That might be a disincentive to them, but I know what you mean because it is always a risk. And there's definitely some people who they're deeply invested in the system, but they're like, "Politics stink. I don't care." Like if you send me a message saying vote for me, I'm just not going to read it. I'm not going to engage with you. I don't want to do it. And that's that. This is one of those things that my personal belief anyways is that I don't want anybody to force me to do anything with my money, and I don't want them to have control over what my money or my influence can do. Therefore, I must accept being in an ecosystem that they have the same potential. But what it means is that there's so much work inside the community to talk to each other, to make each
Yeah.
other engaged. Like, so it's more than just like you're stumping for votes. You're often like, "Hey, I don't know if you notice this thing that's being proposed, but it has a direct impact on X." And that actually is something I know that you're interested in. And oh, thanks, man. But there are quite a few different, like most front ends that are social front ends have, ways to look at it. There are alert systems that you can sign up for that will give you like the Coles notes of what's happening around proposals. But you're right, there are many people who don't want to engage with it. But arguably, like, let's look at the nation state equivalent of like, we'll call it the US because let's face it, there's like 10 people in Canada and they're all on one side and they're the only ones that get to vote. So forget us. But like the states, there's lots of people who don't engage with voting at all. They're
Yeah.
either desensitized to it, they're uninterested in it. How do you incentivize them to vote? And do you think it would be right to say, hey, like, you just don't get to vote because you didn't? So you can vote if you go out and do trash picking for 2 months. Like, would enough people re-engage with voting if there was either some sort of penalty or some sort of hump? So I don't know. This is a tough one that I think is, that whole human condition thing we were talking about. I
Yeah.
think this is deeply rooted with the human condition.
We
Some
got to
people are going to
gamify
care.
it. We got like 50 states we could experiment different, petri dish level experiments. Maybe
Somebody needs
the
to.
community service thing doesn't work, but there's an income tax check bonus. Maybe you get an extra $100 in your income tax check if you vote in any capacity. It doesn't matter who you voted for, but if you voted, you get $100 extra from H&R Block or whatever. And I think that might motivate people to go out and stand in line for 3 hours.
Yeah. So there are options for sure. But I will say, like, knock on wood, knock on hollow. I hope you can hear that. That right now there is actually quite a lot of activity with the DHF. And even people who say, oh, well, my vote's so small, I don't matter, will get out there and will write a think piece. And then, of course, like, that's on the blockchain publicly and often, interrelated or tied back to these proposals. So you have to have a thick skin. It's kind of like going out and pitching in public, except, at least if you go to like a conference and there's a hackathon, somebody might be like, hey, your idea is really bad, but thanks for coming out and trying. Whew, on the blockchain. They're like, hey, your idea is bad. And, maybe today you'll get hit by a bus and your house will light on fire. And you're like, whoa.
Right. You wasted my
okay.
time reading your slop.
I will take that into consideration. Thanks. Like,
yeah, there definitely isn't Toastmasters etiquette in social forums online, but I feel like, with gamified engagement, though, it could get to a point where not self-censoring for self-preservation, but maybe self-censoring for gamification, where people might be a little bit nicer because they like the upvotes.
That's definitely a thing.
Yeah,
that is,
sure.
You're spot on. That's definitely a thing because, again, like, people start realizing if they move around the blockchain and they start being a certain way, there's that identity we were talking about, right? Like, the crim identity is fairly known as, if I show up somewhere, I'm either going to ruin it with a corny joke, I'm going to attach a nerdy GIF, I'm going to play some loud music, or I'm going to help. These are the 4 options, like the 4 cardinal directions. Is you get a Lord of the Rings GIF, you get a heavy metal song, I'm going to make a terrible like pun, or I'll literally solve your problem, or I will take it on and add it to my workload. This is it. That's the identity. And, it's actually me. It's the true me. But if I started coming around and being like, well, that Ken guy's a wiener, and I started posting that everywhere, all your friends would be like, what a jerk. And, the word would spread. And all of a sudden the reputation that I would have would be like, well, yeah, she's helpful, but also she like hates this other community member and she's a jerk about it. Like, do we want to bring her on when she's so divisive? And so I will say this is that human condition again, which is very fascinating. And you do see it. People will behave slightly differently, knowing that they're engaging in public. And, obviously social media, traditional social media especially, is full of people who revel in that and want to be a jerk.
Oh, yeah. Well, traditionally, they make 2 accounts. And the second account is the account they'll talk shit with. And they'll use their main account to fucking like the shit from their secret account. And you're like, you might as well have posted it yourself. I seen that you're the only one that liked it. You're the only mutual follower. I put 2 and 2 together. But on the blockchain, Chainalysis is a little deterring from people having multiple accounts, because eventually a transaction leads back to the main account. And people are like, wait a minute, that account that's been talking shit on me is paying out to a wallet that I just sent you money for coffee for. So what's the deal there?
Yes, exactly. So, I mean, it's no different on chain than off. Like, that's the thing is, like, people are like, oh, blockchain social media is so dumb. And it's like, it's actually really not. But the ways that it's been done so far have been atrocious.
Yeah, but so is traditional. just traditional. We just got past MySpace into like, you know, where we're at, right? Like just recently
Oh, I know.
traditional social media kind of ironed out a few kinks, and then Twitter was working like a fucking well-oiled machine until it was transformed into X, and now it kind
Yep.
of sucks, but that opened up an opportunity for people to make other platforms that don't suck again. I
Yes.
guess the next topic I wanted to kind of jump into is what does that world look like? You know, if Facebook or X or TikTok, if they were to take what Hive has done as a proof of concept and run with it, with all their development, with all their finances and all the infrastructure at their disposal, what does the perfect social platform with Hive tech look like, and how does it affect my everyday or my grandmom's everyday life?
Oh, hell of a question. I mean, I want to say it looks like utopia, but I'm gonna be so very honest in that joy is where people gather and sorrow is where people gather. So like the more free and accurate and, engaging social media is, there will never be a way to get away from stuff you hate. So for me, the best sort of outcome, because honestly, Hive is free and open source. And one of the things that we've really started kind of focusing on, and that, is one of the reasons that, you and I got talking and many things is creators who are finding it difficult or who are finding their reach, shadow banned, or they're finding themselves deboosted unless they pay. We don't want to move you off the places you are, but we want to give you additional distribution tools. So the idea would be like, hey, put your content on Hive and then have it RSS to all social media. Like control that initial distribution point so you can't be disappeared. Or create a forum for your website, back like the bulletin board days. Again, I'm going to age myself here. I'm the old grandma of the internet, using things like BBs or using things like traditional forums before Reddit. There were forums before Reddit, kids. Those were places that now are deeply, deeply mined for like valuable knowledge and real engagement. Not just
Nobody's
because they were
mining my
before.
my live journal for information, right?
You don't know that. Somewhere there's a Bozak bot spouting prolific, song lyrics based off like your best acid trip or whatever.
That's
Um,
awesome.
and and this is the evolution of humanity. But coming back to your actual question, which is, like what does good look like? What does great look like? What does ideal look like? It's everybody building these social connections with granularity. So that same thing of like, if Facebook took this tech immediately and used it, because they could, it's free and open source. They could literally use the blockchain. It scales, it's fast, it's feeless, it's built for this type of thing. That's not all it does, but it's what we do best compared to every other blockchain. Uh, it's granularity, which you do not have. X has control over the main algorithm. Facebook, you say one wrong word and everything you've ever done is immediately disappeared. There are people who have Instagram businesses, social selling, that get banned, and that's it. Their income stream is cut off. And it doesn't even matter that they can't keep posting. They've lost every message, every client, every follower, the things that could make the business like, oh, sorry, Instagram, I will pick up and move. It's already gone. You don't even get the chance to move away graciously. So the granularity of I want to see or do the things how I want to do it, but also the portability and the ownership. So
Hmm.
Facebook says, wow, don't like what you're doing. You are no longer allowed to do it here. I'll say, no problem. I'm going to take all my followers and I'm going to move to X, or I'm going to go to, heaven forbid, LinkedIn. It would basically be a world where all of the legacy social media we have now had some form of interconnectedness, but there's no incentive for them to do that because they are these juggernaut businesses. And they actually became businesses not because they were good platforms. They just simply gated away people creating value. Value isn't always money. Value isn't always a dollar bill or a Bitcoin. Value is information that can be inferred from a relationship. Value is simply a gathering that you want to join. I see this live stream and it's cool and I want to watch. I want to be there. I want to be there. That is valuable because where people gather is where marketplaces form, right? And the marketplace could be for anything. So these platforms have started off decent. They were okay. They got enough human mass that, they could start gating off things. They could control access. And so the model was never, we made a great social media. The model was, we figured out 1 or 2 or 10 things that we could then sell to someone else. So as long as we keep you coming back long enough to give us what we're selling, cool. And that never changed because there was no incentive for it to change. So now the flip side would be, okay, well, yes, make all these same social medias, have all these big players involved in the game. Absolutely. But if they do something somebody doesn't like, or if they want sole control over your relationships, your data, your identity, they can't have it. So the incentive is to be a better social platform or to provide a better product, because if I don't get it here, I will literally pivot somewhere else. Because right now, that's the big thing. Like, you feel like, put all this time into my ex. Like, admittedly, my Twitter, I don't have a ton of followers, like just under 3,000. But initially, my engagement for the first 5 years was like 30% all the time, because people that I knew and I wanted to engage with followed me and vice versa. Now, with the new algorithm being AI driven, it does the precog thing. Is it going to be a banger? We won't surface it. We're not going to show it to your friends. We'll put it in this such feed. Nobody's being seen. And so the platform feels very stagnant. It feels very dead. We're so worried about the dead internet theory, but it's actually not a loss of humans. It's a loss of the way that humans engage with content, because it's being controlled. And that's every platform.
Yeah, YouTube too. I mean, I open YouTube and it's the
Yes.
same 7 content creators, and there's probably 3 billion people making content on YouTube, but I only ever see 7 people on my feed, and I have to look for random stuff to find stuff, and
only 15 are being monetized. But you've got this whole world where, when we were younger, again, and you're probably a baby compared to me, but I'm
going to be 38, so I feel like I look younger than I am. I'm 38.
You do look young, and I'm still older than you.
Hey,
so
wow, you look younger than me, so we're both doing good.
Our
generation's genetics are crushing the new generation's genetics, bro. They're gonna look our age in a couple years.
It's because we drank enough young that we're like pickled, but we're now also like moving into the like alternative health space where we have like our tracker watches or whatever that are like, hey, don't stay up 3 days in a row anymore. You're gonna look like Skeletor. So I like
we're
to think
proof tap water makes us look better. That's where they went wrong. They stopped drinking tap water for a whole generation.
100%. Yeah, like everything in moderation and sometimes not in moderation. None of this Brian Johnson stuff.
Speaking of moderation and monetization, it sounds like that's what Hive has the potential to do for those platforms, is conveniently make everybody, including my niece and nephew up to my grandmom and grandpa, a monetized content creator, where everybody is an influencer on Hive in a sense, right? You don't have to strive to get the verification process to get monetized. You're just
100%.
inherently monetized on Hive. You could create that community, sell the product, whether it's just the gathering, just the topic of conversation could be the product, and that could earn you an income on that platform. And I know you
100%.
mentioned the lack of control that those centralized platforms like Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and all those have, but isn't the opportunity still there on the table for them to fork Hive into their own like little semi-centralized version of Hive? Couldn't they say, oh, look at all this cool stuff Hive built, let's fork all that, and then we make it in the technology non like swappable, where it's not, you won't be able to take your Facebook content and put it on Twitter because our fork is centralized to this platform. Why don't we see Facebook fork Hive? Why hasn't anybody tried to go that route?
Because then what you're doing essentially is creating a private database again. It's exactly the same as what you have now. So you're involving the need for multiple nodes to reach consensus, to do all the stuff that takes to be a blockchain. But the only way to like not create publicly available blockchain data would be to be creating a private centralized block, which is it's a database. So the benefits and the bonuses and all these things that are inherently like immediately make things better. It's completely feeless, or, it's ultra fast, or it can't go down because there are nodes all over the world. Like these are all things that a database does, but only does for one person at cost. So Facebook has nodes all over the world in different data centers. They pay for that. Facebook is feeless
AWS.
because, well, yeah, well, unfortunately, and to be fair, a lot of things use AWS. Like there are certainly Hive, the blockchain itself is
Oh
not,
man,
you
I
know,
argue with people at the Bitcoin conference because they say like Bitcoin's the most decentralized, and I'm like, yeah, but like AWS, bro. And like I
at
feel like they either intentionally are ignorant or they just don't want to know. But I'm like, it's decentralized ish.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, realistically, we need people that are, not just running infrastructure at home. Like, yeah, that's one form of decentralization. But whether we like it or not, the major internet spines and backbones in the world, there are only a couple of them. Like, eventually, unless we're all creating some kind of insane, like, sidewalk mesh net, which is possible and can be done and
Yeah.
is being done. But unless you're engaging in something like that, which is a device to device proximity or like alternative network, yes, you're going to run into a center. Eventually, you get high enough up the chain, it's centralized. But you
I
know,
think we're gonna see cool IoT stuff come out where I know like right now your washer and dryer has like Bluetooth Wi-Fi connectivity, but I've also seen at Mining Disrupt, the mining conference, a hot water heater for your shower
yes,
and water is a Bitcoin miner. The heater for your hot tub is a fucking Bitcoin miner. You have a heater for the
yeah,
foot of your bed that blows out hot air, Bitcoin miner. I don't see
yeah.
why not eventually those have more technology in it where my microwave, my washer and dryer, and my hot water heater may also contribute to the mesh net.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, that's like we'll spiral off into an entire another topic of, like I as a disruptive tech sort of enthusiast, I love this stuff. And as a disruptive tech enthusiast, I'm terrified of it. So I do not have like a smart fridge. I have a dumb washer, like I do
Yeah.
have a lot of physical hardware
Yeah, I don't have
because
Alexa or none of that shit either. I swear it's in the
yes,
same. I'm in the same boat. It's so cool
yeah.
when other people are doing it though.
And like a small part of me desperately wants to like, yes, I want the full I want to go whole hog. I want my house to be like connected to my watch, which admittedly like I actually ordered a Pebble because I want to de-Google and I'm slowly de-Googling my life. So like this is one
Pebbles
of
are
those
cool.
last surveillance voluntary surveillance devices. But I want this to tell my house which room I'm in because it's geofenced and I want the lights to come up depending on the time of day.
I
When I'm in
did
the
this in
bathroom in the morning,
2016. I love
yeah,
this.
but back then there was slightly less malicious
Yeah,
that,
we all had to do it ourselves with if this then that, and it was all in
yes,
house.
everybody was
But
running
yeah,
Raspberry Pis and writing
yes.
in Python and yeah, times have changed.
And then
Times have
fucking
changed.
Ring doorbell came out, and they were like, "Wait, if somebody could bottle fucking water, we could pretty much bottle all this free shit these nerds are doing and just sell bottled technology," which is what a Ring doorbell is. Everything that Ring does, I was doing in 2016 with an old Android phone, the proximity sensor and a Bluetooth if this then
Yes.
that, and it was just already Ring doorbell, and I was like fucking not a kid. And then I saw it on Shark Tank, and I'm like, but that's bottled water. Like that's what they're selling in that package is free in the air.
100%, but they're selling that we're coming back around to why like Facebook and why X still work is there's convenience. I don't want to do it myself. The nerds want to do it and they will do it. But I just want the thing they have that's cool. Give me that. I'll pay for it. Here you go. Here's my money. And then I also don't care enough to like be private about it. So not only am I installing your surveillance software in my home, I'm literally feeding it 24/7 information about things I do. So now I'm geofenced. I went to go sit down. Yes, I'm on the toilet and you made the temperature just perfect for pooping. I'm mood pooping in my lighting and my temperature, but you're also because you're connected to my infrastructure and you're looking at what I'm doing while I'm on the toilet. And you've learned that I browse Amazon while I'm on the toilet and if I hear a certain song you gotta play some Tomb Mold. I'm gonna get excited and smash bye 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 bye. So now my
Yes.
house is gonna play Tomb Mold every time I'm pooping because it's the optimal like consumptive
Yeah, the
vehicle. This
algorithm's
is what's
controlling
happening.
you. But people are waking up to the monetized solutions to where there's the Ring doorbell. Yes, you could pay for the
Yes.
convenience and subscribe, and now you have to pay $20 a month, or you'll never know who's ringing your doorbell again, right? Or there's an alternative version now because of Web3 and all this decentralized technology that if you were to go out of your way and do the Raspberry Pi thing, you not only don't have to pay a subscription, but you can get monetized. You could actually earn
Yeah.
money from the blockchain by using the solutions. And there's so many new solutions coming out that I think
Yep.
like, oh, have you heard of free water? It is my favorite concept on planet Earth. This guy was like, I could just give away free water and that's my business. And I'm going to convince a bunch of idiots to give me money to give away free water. And this dude found so many idiots to basically, he turned a bottle of water into a 4x4 billboard where it's, instead of handing somebody a flyer on the sidewalk, it's four flyers folded into a bottle of water. And now he just gives people water. And while they're drinking it, they're reading all the ads. It's basically the menu at a restaurant, but like turned into a water bottle. And it just, I was like, yes, that is exactly what we're going to be doing. We're taking all this technology and we're going to bottle it up and give it away. And Dasani isn't going to have a business anymore because their competitor is giving away what they sell for free. And that's what we need to do with this technology, with Hive. What Hive needs is to build more things that people pay for and find a way to get them to use it and pay them for using it.
Yeah. And so that's what we're seeing. Like, we've got lots of cool stuff. One of the very first, like, move to earn, well, the first move to earn app in the world. There's quite a few now, but that idea of, hey, I'm going to have it connected to my step counter, my Garmin. I'm going to make logs of my exercise and I'm going to do slight monetization, competitions with my friend. It's ActiFit. It was built on the Hive blockchain. So there's lots of these things, but the big thing is like, hey, let's get more people engaged with dApps. And one of the trickiest things is early on, almost every blockchain fell into it, it was like, hey, this is blockchain connected. And that ship has sailed. Whether we like it or not, the people who did bad in this space have created a sort of lingering stink around crypto. Not just Hive,
the Nigerian print. We're a little bit worse than the Nigerian Prince emails the internet had back in the day. It was close because grandmom still wouldn't buy zoo books off the internet for me because of that. Like, you know what I mean? She passed away before people were comfortable using their credit card on the internet again. Because of that period. And I think, unfortunately, we're going to have to wait another 10 years before people are comfortable with crypto again.
Yeah, and it's happening, so being at Consensus, which was the last time we saw each other, was tough because you're looking around and you're going, there's no crypto people here. There's none. This floor is, and it was stables. It was basically suits selling wrappers for captured technology to suits, it's depressing from a cypherpunk standpoint, but it's also a realization of these are the sort of Trojan horses. And I hate using that term in tech, but it existed before the virus did. These are the Trojan horses that we have to say, hey, these are the guys who are in with banks. These are the guys who are in with payment processors. These are the guys who are in with lawmakers. Whether we like it or not, they are the first step towards decentralization. Yeah. These stable coins that are either nation state backed, captured, centralized, whatever, they are still a slight movement forward. Whether we like it or not, good is subjective. They're good in that, yes, they're part of our ecosystem. They're bad in that they will be the things that we will have to catch again. But that is the way of the world. I think the idea of paying with crypto is actually so much further ahead and also still feels a million miles away. Bitcoin Pizza Day. I don't know if did you celebrate on Friday for Bitcoin Pizza Day?
I got to have some Elios out of the toaster oven, but I didn't get to make it out of the house. And I do see the chat. I see you in the chat disagreeing. And I want to play devil's advocate and be on your side and disagree with her, but I can't because I agree. I know if these
read me the disagreement. I want to hear it.
They're just saying wrong, liar. They are not. They are poison cells inviting you in. Sure. And I think they're the ones that are taking the poison pill. If they utilize this technology in their traditional infrastructure, they are proving proof of concept in a decentralized environment. If they use this technology to do what they're doing, there is nothing traditional. Like, they could have IP, they could have all this legal shit stopping us from using it. No, all of the stuff they're utilizing is going to be open source. And the solutions that will be competing with Wells Fargo will exist because Wells Fargo fucked around and found out with blockchain, and it inspired their competition. And like I said, Wells Fargo charging people $20 a month on maintenance fee, somebody's going to flip that script and start giving you $20 a month for using their version of Wells Fargo after Wells Fargo takes the dip and tests everything out, proves that it does work. that is the thing that I think people are waiting for. You're not going to see small credit unions involving themselves in blockchain banking, but if Wells Fargo and PNC and those figure out how to utilize this technology, you better believe those small credit unions and mom and pop banks on the street corners in small towns are going to do the same shit, and they're going to do it better because they're not throttled by big corporate board meeting bullshit. All these companies are going to take a year to innovate in meetings upon meetings. Smaller you are, the faster you innovate. Look at Netflix versus Blockbuster. The reason they could have went as far and as fast as they did, they didn't have as many people on the board yelling and disagreeing. It was just a couple of dudes. The smaller you are, the more opportunity you have.
Yeah, that's true. It's an agility thing. So I was just going to say, and then you live long enough to become the villain, right? But no, so this is interesting because I agree to a degree with what you're saying. It's interesting that they think we disagree because I agree. These people are poison. And so last consensus, if you go back in my timeline, you'll read my consensus about consensus. Last year, consensus was AML, KYC, compliance, legal. Same thing. Nobody crypto there. Horrible. And it's depressing. However, the difference is nowhere to be seen this year. Did they achieve anything? Arguably, not really. What they did achieve is that they got the sort of TradFi world a little closer. Oh, yeah, there is compliance. We could be compliant. So let's move towards creating a stable. But on the face of it, like, do I think any of what's happening is good? No, it's we are very much in agreement that TradFi is a poison, centralized, surveillance software is evil, and most of traditional finance needs to be lit on fire and burned down. I am, as of this year, being paid and living fully off crypto. I'm slowly de-Googling my life. I'm slowly kind of moving into spaces where I'm using only voluntary open source software. It's hard. It's really, really hard. Most normal people will not do that. And in today's world, like, I still feel fear a lot of the time. And, I've had most of it beaten out of me by being in this space for so long. But the expectation that we will hit on this magic thing, like even Bitcoin was the closest thing we had to magic at the time. And we were like, it's going to change the world. We believe in it. Here we are, how many years later? And we did not light the traditional finance industry on fire. So the reality is can we have a second Bitcoin again? Not just like a better Bitcoin. We can argue there's many currencies that are doing it better, but not that. Can we have something brand new again in the blockchain space that's exactly like Bitcoin, that literally flips the table on traditional finance? Probably not. So whether we like it or not, I'm not advocating for these, especially the stable coins that are so sketchy. There are many that will never be seen again after this year's conference run. They will make some money. They will flare out. They will slow rug. More people will be hurt. They will have trusted what looked like an okay solution and will, again, still hate crypto for it. But in terms of the government is now talking about it, our shitty nation states are now talking about it, businesses are now considering it. They are doing work that we can't do. The problem is they're doing bad work. So our job has become, we can't necessarily get out ahead of them to normies, to people like us, these smaller agile groups. We can, but we can't get out ahead to them to normies. So our job now actually also encompasses aftercare. We have to find people
tech support.
who are right, but not even tech support, like actual aftercare. Now, however you use that connotation, whatever the first activity was that requires aftercare, that's on you. But aftercare is their first foray into a system where they're like, I'm using crypto, and then it gets seized by the nation state, or a CBDC, or their bank account frozen, and they're like, I didn't think crypto could be frozen. Crypto's a scam. It's
my
just
crypto got blacklisted. Yeah.
It's just what we're I bought Shamalama Ding Dong Butt Monkey 6950 fart coin and it didn't go to the moon. Like, yeah, no shit. However, again, these are all avenues to get people in. The problem is it's the human condition. Whether we like it or not, this tech is human.
It's a generational condition, though. It's worse. I'm so happy that those conditions are generational and they don't get passed down inherently. Like, Whatever would have stopped my grandmom and grandpop from, getting involved in crypto didn't exist in my mentality. The same way grandkids of people our age will not have the whatever mental roadblocks that are preventing them from endeavoring in this. The same way you could hand any 5-year-old an iPad and they're going to open a TikTok and go viral without any tutorial. It's just they know how to use this stuff now. They're not worried about, the webcam stealing their soul. That idea is a little old now, and I think
moved past that one,
way past that. And I think that we have that whole crypto's a scam, little taintedness to us. But the kids that grew up with like Fortnite V-Bucks and Fortnite skins in centralized environments where their version of Wells Fargo freezing their bank account was like Fortnite banning them for saying a swear word to one of their close friends, and now they lost all their skins and all their V-Bucks, and their V for Vendetta is because of a Fortnite ban, not a Wells Fargo banking fiasco, right? And I think that'll carry on into a different perspective for that generation moving forward, where they're not going to want anything that can be seizable. Unseizable, unconfiscatability, I think, will be more valued. It'll be up there above privacy. I still think it's going to take a while for us as a society to value privacy. But I think that we're gonna see it right around there in terms of value. And I just realized we're up on the hour. I could do this all day.
Sorry.
And much love, bro. I guess let people know where they can follow you and keep up to date on what you have going on. Drop your socials.
Well, I'm at crimsonclad everywhere. Admittedly, Twitter, I made my Twitter as sort of a privacy and tech and mostly blockchain outreach advocate, heavy metal and blockchain outreach. And I am also Daddy Nikita does not like my chitty chat. So I've been more quiet as of late. However, I'm going to try and not be salty and use the shitty legacy media some more. But that being said, anybody who's interested, if you want to get involved with something like Hive, there are tons of front ends. Just saying, oh, go buy some Hive. Who cares? Don't go buy some Hive. Go find something that Hive powers. Or if you are in an ecosystem or you have a community and you want a place where you have, a home base, or you want somewhere where you can create a wallet identity or whatever, reach out to me, no problem. There are a lot of cool opportunities. You can check out EcenC or PeakD or InLeo are some of our sort of front ends that look and feel like legacy social media, but aren't. And that being said, also pretty soon, we're going to really start driving people to start vibe coding, start like getting involved. It's actually super simple. There are no smart contract languages on Hive, which means you can build whatever the heck you want. You don't have to buy RPC access and you don't have to buy Hive to do it. This is what we want. We're a bunch of nerds that say, hey, free open source software that allows people to do the things they want and become more engaged and create more value is really what the world's all about.
Yeah, and like she said, you don't have to buy Hive. Hive is actually one of the only cryptos it's easier to earn than it is to buy. If you're not in crypto at all, it's so much easier to earn Hive than it is to buy it. So you could just join the community, contribute, and earn some Hive. You could do it today. By the end of tonight, you could have some Hive in your wallet just by earning it in the space. I saw there's a few ways to jump in, but there is a free option to make an account and join. So you should check it out. Thanks everybody in the comments. I see you guys going crazy. We'll keep this convo going. If you want to jump in Telegram, the Telegram chat is Telegram whatever / Ken Bozak, just my name. That's the group channel name. So yeah, if you guys want to argue about all this shit in Telegram, I'd be happy to participate. Thank you all, and don't forget, like, share, comment, and all that. Have a day. Outro music? Yeah, do it. Click the thing. Okay.
Hello, happy bros. Hey, you're about to get a face full of the Ken Bozak. He's a mentor. That's what I heard. He's a connector. Oh, yeah. He's a brilliant leader. I've seen it. He's Ken Bozak. Oh, happy bro. You gotta get some Bitcoin and hold it. Happy bros. You gotta get those NFTs and you gotta hodl that stuff. You gotta hodl it. 'Cause I'm Ken bro. We got your Bitcoin, bro. keys and hold them. How many times does he have to tell you? Going to the moon. We're going to the moon. We're going to the moon. We're going to the moon. Going to the moon. We're going to the moon. We're gonna get real high. 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 Yeah, we're going to the moon. We're going to the moon. Bro, we're going to the moon. Oh yeah, we're going to the moon. We're gonna get real high. Real high. Yep. Real high. Hello, happy bros. Come get some Ken Bozak.